adjusted. Are you all seeing me? Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, we can see you well.
Awesome, awesome. If you're hearing me as well, could you just give me a thumbs up so that we can also know that we're all here and we're just going to start the interaction? Awesome. All right, so I'm only seeing 2 thumbs up so far. I'm sure I'm seeing about 25 persons here. So I know we're there. Okay. All right. So I'm seeing all the thumbs now. All right. So good afternoon again, everyone. Let me just say thank you very much for having me this afternoon. It's a pleasure to just see another union within the region just grow and just evolve. You know, it's the 3rd anniversary, and I'm absolutely honored to have been asked to come and speak with you guys this afternoon. Now, I know I only have 15 minutes and I was given very strict instructions. I will not be very long, but there are some very important things that I will share this afternoon. And I tried to craft the message around the theme, learners of today, leaders of tomorrow. And I will share with you 4 particular points that I believe are very important as young people as we continue on this journey of leadership. And the first point that I want to share today is appreciate the process. Now, before I even go any further, I'm going to ask you all to write if you can. If you have a pencil or a paper beside you, I'm asking you to just jot it down, just to jot down the points and try to remember these points as you pointers as you go along on your journey. And as I said, the first point is appreciate the process. And there's a saying that leaders develop daily, not within a day. And sometimes as young people, we get so carried away and we get so worked up because we're trying to get something and we can't get it done, you know, and the process seems so difficult and so hard. And sometimes we just want to give up. And sometimes it seems as though everything is against us and like nobody wants us to win. But I just want to remind you to appreciate the process. Because, for example, when I was a little earlier in my leadership journey, one of my biggest difficulties was that I had difficulty with public speaking. I had difficulty articulating myself in public, and I was very fearful of speaking. And I was wondering why I couldn't get it, why everybody could speak so well and I can't speak. And I would tell you, I've learned to appreciate the process. And I had to first start in the debating club in high school. And I would volunteer every now and then to give a little speech. And then my teacher would give me some critiques at Everton. You need to work on this. You need to work on that. You know, there's some improvement that you need to do here. And over time, over the years, after about 5 years now, I can tell you that entering and joining that debating society and appreciating the process, I now can see the value of how I become a better public speaker and how it has helped me rather as a student leader. And as student leader, there are different areas. Your difficulty might not be public speaking. Your difficulty might be something totally different. But I just want to remind you to first and to always remember to appreciate the process. And understand that as the theme speaks to learners of today and leaders of tomorrow, you're now in that phase of your life where you're learning and you're trying to improve yourself. You're knowing that phase where you're going through that process. And sometimes the process is very difficult, as I mentioned. You're doing a degree program. I'm sure everybody here, you're all a part of an institution and you're doing a degree program. And a degree program can be very difficult sometimes. And even though it's difficult, you know that at the end of that degree program, you will become better as a person. You know that that degree program is equipping you to be a better person, to be able to better add value to the society that you're going into. And I'm sure you have countless nights when you had to do difficult things, where you had to be up studying all night, or you fail a test, and sometimes you feel as though you're not going to finish it. But you have to understand the process is where the fun is. The process is where you grow. The process is really where the bulk of the work is. Because you have to understand that the end is not always so happy. And I say that in the sense that as human beings, we strive to progress. So if you achieve something, you have to understand that after a few days of achieving it, you're trying to find the next thing that you can aim at, because it's a process that we appreciate as young people. It is a process that makes you feel like we're progressing and we're making something of ourselves as young people. And that is the first point. I just want to remind you to appreciate the process. The second point I want to remind you guys of, and I hope you're all writing and trying to get down these pointers, is don't compare yourself to us. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday. The reality is you don't know the circumstances of a young person yesterday, of a young person or anybody that you're comparing yourself to. That person might have the most difficult situation at home. That person might be taking drugs, all kind of things. And I'm not saying this to bash anybody, but the reality is that you don't know what the circumstances of that person is. But one thing you do know for sure is where you were yesterday as a person and where you are today as a person. And that is why it's so important that you try to compare yourself as young people and as student leaders to where you were yesterday and try to at least be a little better than who you were yesterday. It doesn't mean you have to be significantly better than who you were yesterday, but it's very important that you try to at least a percent better than who you were yesterday. And on that journey of being a better person or a better version of yourself, you will start to appreciate yourself more, because that is an actual way of tracking if you're improving as a person. So the lesson here is to remind yourself that don't compare yourself to others because you don't know the difficulties and the circumstances of others. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday and try to be a better version of that person. And the third to last pointer, or should I say the second to last pointer is, and I really want you to pay attention to this one. Your talent will take you places. And I just want to reiterate that, and I hope you write this one down. Your talent will take you places. You know, today I look back and I look at the opportunities that have been granted to me as a young man. I'm only 24. Last 2 weeks ago, not 2 weeks ago, but a week and a couple of days ago, I turned 24. And I've been to more than 10 different countries, and the opportunities, I traveled to most of those countries to represent Jamaica. I've been to Belize as well to represent my country at the World Student Leaders, or should I say World Youth Leaders Conference. And then that's where I met Dominique as well, who's also the next guest speaker. And I learned from a very early stage that my talent, my gifting was leadership. I had a very unique ability to bring groups together and allow persons to achieve a common goal. But I don't say that to impress you. I say that to you to ask you, what is your talent? What is it that is going to be the golden thing that is going to take you places as an individual here today? And I want you to be very honest with yourself. What is it that you're gifted in? What is it that people will be willing to pay you to travel miles just to come and watch you perform your talent? But sometimes you have to understand that you don't naturally just see that talent sometimes you have to develop that talent. Because while you might have an idea that this is what you're gifted in, you have to develop that talent. And the development process of that talent might take time, and it goes back to the process. For me in particular, I realized that leadership was an area that I was very strong in. What I did, I started to read a book a week. I read books by John Maxwell, T.D. Jakes, Les Brown, all of these different authors. I read a lot of books around them about personal development, about leadership, because I knew that leadership was my talent, or leadership was my area of strength. And again, I ask you the question, what is your area of strength? What is the area that is going to help you to be a better person in society? What is the area that you're going to spend today learning about so that you can be a better leader tomorrow? What is it going to be the area that you spend time this week learning about so you can be a better person for tomorrow? Because the reality is this, you're now at a stage in your life as a university student where you have to try to maximize on your development. Because when you leave university and you go into the working world, you won't have as much time as you had in university to develop yourself. So you have to try to spend this phase of your life trying to develop yourself and maximize on your talent. Because today I look back at my journey, because I wasn't any rich kid, or I wasn't the guy who grew up in a family where there was a lot of money or anything like that. I grew up in a household where there was 5 of us, 2 bedrooms. And I grew up in a very difficult situation, but I say that to you to remind you that it's not where you're coming from, it's where you're going. And I want to remind you to develop your talent because it can take you places. And the final lesson that I want to share with you today is a story that was told by Simon Sinek, who is an empowerment speaker. And the story is about an Undersecretary of Defense. And the story is a message about humility. The Undersecretary of Defense, former Undersecretary of Defense of the United States of America, was at a podium giving a speech, and he was doing a script presentation. And he stopped and he said, you know, last year, when I was a former Undersecretary of Defense, they flew me here, business class. A private transportation took me directly to the hotel. Not only that, but also I was given the opportunity. They took my luggage and everything and brought it to my room and they would have checked me in. When I was coming to the event last year, they also had a private transportation waiting on me. And when I got to the venue, they took me in from around the back and they brought me in. And they also gave me a ceramic cup of coffee without even asking. And then he said, this year, as the former undersecretary, I had to pay my own plane fare to get here. When I got to the airport, I had to take a taxi to the hotel. When I got to the hotel, I had to check myself in. When I wanted to get here today, I had to take another taxi to get here. And I walked through the front door. And when I got to the venue, I asked, is there any coffee here? And one of the persons who was working at the venue said, there's coffee at the back of the room, at the back of the room. And they handed me a styrofoam cup. The lesson is this. In life, you will be afforded the opportunity for persons to call you sir, madam, to give you opportunities and to call you and give you all kinds of things. But remember that you only deserve a styrofoam cup. The ceramic cup is meant for the position you hold. And when you leave that position, whether it be next year or the following year, somebody else will replace you and they will gain those same opportunities. Don't ever believe you deserve a ceramic cup. You only deserve a styrofoam cup. That is my message for today. I want to wish you all the best and thank you very much for inviting me.